Welcome back to another episode of the Cycle Podcast, a show where we cover 4 trending MLB topics in 20 minutes or less. Joining me once again is Josh, a.k.a. Kablumski. Josh, how are you doing today? Glad to have you on the show.
What's going on, brother? Thank you for having me for another episode. Looking forward to talk some more ball. The season's getting hot and rolling, steamy, and let's get it going.
Yeah, I love your new background, by the way. Shout out to all the firefighters out there.
Thank you. I did that for Memorial. I know, Memorial Day weekend. I was like, you know what? I had a few drinks and I was like, you know what? Let's get her done. And I see you see your sign right there too. So
I do.
Shout out to Sivos for that one. It's gonna keep on coming. It's more to come.
Good deal. All right, without further ado, let's get into our first topic. Okay. Our first topic today is going to be top 10 starting pitchers through the first third of the season or so. We're going to be doing starting pitchers, then hitters, and then relief pitchers over the next 3 episodes. And this is for those of you that maybe just like to watch your team or don't have time to keep up with the whole league. So at number 10, this was probably the toughest spot. I've got Jesus Luzardo of the Phillies. He is leading the National League in starting pitcher war, only giving up 3 home runs through 76 innings pitched. Not an enormous strikeout guy in an era where strikeouts are king, but he is putting together what could be a career year for him. In number 9, I have Yoshinobu Yamamoto holding it down for that oft-injured Dodgers rotation, leading the league in hits per 9 at 5.3 over the course of 9 innings. That is outstanding. He has been a massive bounce back to the start of the year, if you remember his struggles to begin the year last year. At number 8, not my favorite, but Garrett Crochet, leading the league in innings pitched in games started with a 2.04 ERA, and he's taken on this sort of workhorse role, pitching 75 innings so far, going deep into games, which concerns me given his career high of innings pitched is 146. We will see if he can keep that up over the course of the season. At number 7, probably too low, but I have Paul Skeens, who just came off his first career complete game. 4 straight starts now with 1 or less earned runs. His strikeout numbers are down a bit, but all of the advanced metrics, his stuff, very comparable to 2024 season where he was Rookie of the Year and top 3 in Cy Young voting. At number 6, oft forgotten, Nathan Eovaldi. Unfortunately left yesterday's game with a tricep strain after 2 innings. However, I'm not holding that against him in the top 10 right now. 1.56 ERA, leading the league in WHIP, limiting walks. He has the best strikeout to walk ratio of his career at this point. And then number 5, this year's kind of breakout out of the blue guy, Kris Bubic of the Kansas City Royals, who has transitioned back to a starting pitcher role after being absolutely nails out of the bullpen late last year and into the playoffs. We stretched him out during spring training, and he has been absolutely outstanding, leading the American League in starting pitching war with a 1.45 ERA and 7 innings pitched in 3 of his last 5 starts, eating up those innings, saving the Royals bullpen. At number 4, now we're getting into the big dogs. We've got Hunter Brown. I moved him down just a bit. I planned to have him at 2 when I started putting my list together, but a really, really poor outing against the Rays dropped him. He's still floating around a 2 ERA with a sub-1 WHIP. He has been absolutely outstanding for the Astros, keeping them in what is a very, very competitive AL West. At number 3, I have the most robbed Cy Young candidate of all time, Zach Wheeler. And I believe this is his year, by the way, to win the NL Cy Young. He has 11.2 strikeouts per 9, 3 consecutive starts going into today with no earned runs allowed. Undisputed king of the National League right now. At number 2, the guy who has been everything and more for his new team, the New York Yankees, at a 7-0 record, Max Fried, leading the league in ERA, not extremely strikeout heavy, but just amazingly efficient, not allowing runs, not really finding himself in a lot of bad spots, and especially with Garrett Cole going down early in the season, he has stepped up in a big way. And number 1, this is no surprise, Tarik Skubal, the best pitcher in baseball, 2.49 ERA, but his FIP which is the fielding adjusted ERA, basically, not accounting for, not errors, but misplayed balls in the infield, things of that nature. Bad luck, effectively. He's got a 1.96 adjusted FIP, 12.1 strikeouts per nine, 92 strikeouts already, on pace to push 270 in the strikeout category, which I don't think will happen. And of course, this is so far subject to change as the year goes on. This is a topic that we will revisit. And Josh, I apologize for taking the whole time, but I did brief you on that beforehand, and I would probably talk for the full 5 minutes. So let's get you some airtime and move on to our next topic.
No, just really quick, because no, you get that top 10 was on point. Just a few things that I got on your top 10. Yamamoto, I'm loving that he's back on track. Like I said, from our start of our show, from previous episodes, been rooting for him. Hope that he gets back on track, and he is doing as such. Crochet, obviously, I hate the way he pitches. I hate the team that he plays for. I hate everything about him, essentially. But the guy is just so ugly that he's good. And I mean by ugly by his mechanics, is the way he pitches, the pitches that he pitches. Everything is just so ugly that he's just effectively so good. Skeens is too low. You're right. He is too low, but effectively with this list, you just got to fit him in there. Eovaldi, I love that when he's fighting Father Time. Burbage, obviously, yes, your Royals guy. You got to get a Royals guy in there. Hunter Brown is my guy. Real quick, this is the guy that I wanted to highlight real quick. Hunter Brown, man, 2.04 ERA. He has a 71 strikeouts and 61.2 innings pitched, and his whip is 0.87 right now. The guy's absolutely balling. The Astros obviously are not doing the greatest as backing him up, but he's doing his due diligence when he gets on the mound. Fried, another player that I absolutely hate, that the team that he plays for. We talked about this off air. His time is unfortunately going to be coming up soon, but the guy is on fire right now. He's doing everything that the Yankees need him to do. He's coming in and doing his job at an elite level. And of course, your boy Scooble, you just can't touch him.
Not my boy. He's not my boy.
I just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah, he's just untouchable right now. Best pitcher in baseball. One other thing before I finish, you talked about Zach Wheeler being the most robbed
Cy Young guy.
I'm gonna throw a name at you. Nolan Ryan has never won a Cy Young. He is the most robbed Cy Young player of all time. There you go.
Not a Nolan Ryan guy.
There you go.
Our second topic today, coming off of last week where we discussed buyers at the upcoming deadline, is sellers today. Obviously, there's so many teams that need help, and it is probably going to be a buyer's market. There are quite a few teams I expect to be moving some players. First up, I want to look a little bit at the Pirates. It's a little interesting here because you have guys like Joey Bart that are blocking the Henry Davises and the Endy Rodriguezes. 28-year-old Joey Bart, so many teams need some kind of help at catcher. They've got David Bednar, a solid relief pitcher. Obviously, the Pirates closer. I wouldn't anticipate him being a closer on a competing team, but as a setup guy, invaluable. Guys like Andrew Heaney, role players like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. The Pirates have a lot of work to do at the deadline. And I'm going to say here, I don't expect them to trade Paul Skeens, although that is what you're seeing on MLB.com, Twitter, wherever it is you get your news from.
Right.
As well as another National League team we've talked about in the past, the Rockies, with guys like Ryan McMahon, a handful of arms they could move. But my biggest piece I want to look at is Taylor Ward from the Angels. A guy who can play multiple outfield spots, has been hitting for power, is driving in runs, really doing it all at the right time. For the Angels to probably be able to get quite a bit back. And this is a player who has been called about probably every year for the last 5 years. People have been wanting to get their hands on Taylor Ward. And I think this may be the last deadline where the Angels are able to get, the appropriate haul, so to speak, for Taylor Ward. I also am very interested in the Orioles because over the last three weeks or so, I've been saying the Orioles are going to turn it on. Rutschman's going to kick it into gear. Gunnar Henderson, who has begun to kick it into gear. Guys like Keston Herstead, Colton Cowser, some of their rotation guys, I expected to pick it up, and it hasn't happened. They are still sort of riding the bottom of the AL East. They have guys like Ryan O'Hearn. They have guys like Zach Eflin. Even if they were going full fire sale, a guy like Felix Bautista would command a massive return.
Mm-hmm.
And then the White Sox, who have already begun moving pieces. They already traded Matt Thies, catcher, for to the Rays for a prospect. And the big domino to drop there is going to be Luis Robert. Obviously, injury-prone guy, massively slump-prone at times. But I think every competitor in the entire league is going to be after Luis Robert if it becomes apparent that this is the year they plan to move him. So, of those teams I mentioned, or feel free to throw out your own, the Marlins with Sandy Alcantara and Tanner Scott. Who are you most interested in watching as a seller at the deadline?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you mentioned it. I didn't want to beat a dead horse with it, though. The Marlins and Sandy Alcantara, that's my main one that I'm trying to watch here. But two names that you mentioned, and I'm happy you did mention, because even in the pre-show, we didn't speak about these guys. Endy Rodriguez and Luis Robert. First of all, Endy Rodriguez. I have a little bit more of a personal connection with him because, number one, he's a catcher, obviously. But number two, as you know, I got some connections with the Pirates organization, blah, 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 blah. So I've spoken to him before. First of all, the guy is an awesome human being, but the way he plays freaking baseball, Seables, is insane at the catcher's position. It's insane that this kid is not in behind the plate right now. They're trying to find ways to utilize his bat. They moved him at first base, second, outfield, trying to figure it out to keep him happy. But man, he is a piece that a lot of teams could be after. Another name you mentioned was Luis Robert, right? Like you said, injury prone, all that good stuff, slumps. But the guy brings a massive bat to the order. And I think that his
fast
time is
shit too.
Yes, and he's fast as shit. But the thing what I want to tell our viewers and our followers is that I personally think, as an athlete and as a former player, that his lack of winning, this lack of motivation that the culture has up there in Chicago, I think that's playing on his everyday play, if that makes sense. I want to believe that anyway. I really want to believe that because I'm a fan of his. I think he's a great player. But I think if he gets moved, not only does he excel his game, but I think he excels whatever team and organization he gets a part of.
Yeah, well, I mean, playing for a bad team, those you are out here that watch, if you have a bad manager at work, if your fantasy football team sucks, you don't log in every day. If you hate your job, you don't give 100%. Luis Robert has spent his entire career, for the most part, minus maybe stretches of a few years, just being part of a bad organization. If you are hurting that day, your quad hurts, you're not quite stretched out, you got a little bit of a headache or a cold, you're not going to play that day. You're going to be a scratch, because why are you going to go out there and break your body for a team that isn't giving back to you what you're willing to give to them? You put him on a contending team, I can see a lot of those minor injuries, not being as big of a deal, and just his everyday motivation. You say, oh, you got to go give it your all every day. No, you don't, dude. You don't. Because why would you?
It's 162 games, brother. It's hard to do. And you hit the nail right in the head with what I was trying to portray in my tape there. Real quick though, before we get off, anybody who's watching baseball, who's trying to catch and want to learn how to catch properly, watch Endy Rodriguez and his mechanics and the way he plays baseball.
Unfortunately, blocking Henry Davis. So
I know.
Our third topic today, rounding out the month, is going to be our players of the month. So I have one batter. Josh has one batter. And of course, mine is Shohei Ohtani. Obvious, if you've been watching or if you even know what baseball is, you know that this dude is on fire. The first month of the season, just kind of tuning in, I watched the recap rundown on MLB TV every day. Just didn't hear a lot from Ohtani. He was great, but he wasn't Ohtani great. The last month, he has been Ohtani great. 13 home runs, 27 runs scored, 25 RBIs, walking at a 14% rate, slugging percentage up to 776 for the month. That is wild. Matching
Insane.
these Aaron Judge numbers, and Judge maybe a better month, 352 and 442, but we've sort of gone on record here that we are banning Aaron Judge from awards for the remainder of the year. But dude,
we might need to do the same. We might need to do the same for Ohtani too.
Let's give him his flowers for this one.
Yes.
He's been, I mean, unbelievable. And if you've watched Ohtani in the past, you know how he is. This is no surprise. But if he can keep this up, you're looking at another historically great season from him, cementing that first ballot Hall of Fame legacy, working his way into the GOAT conversation. And I think if he has another season this year like he did last year, maybe not going to be that 50-50. He's going to come back to pitching, though, here shortly. And we are going to have to talk have to talk about the GOAT conversation maybe by the end of the year. For those of you that don't already have him in that mix of the top 3 or 4 guys of all time. But just to save a little time, as we've gone over on our last topics, where are you at player of the month? You have an interesting one that I actually didn't really think of.
Okay. So real quick, before I go to the one that you want to say, I got to give flowers real quick to Junior Caminero as my honorable mention. I'm sorry. I got to get him in there. Anytime I can speak about the Rays, I got to get it in there, right? The guy's been on fire lately. His line right now is 318, 348, 773, and he has 3 home runs in this past week with 11 RBIs, just on fire. But the guy that I am going to talk about is Cal Raleigh. Also because he's a catcher. I got to give my catchers love and all that good stuff. But really, really quick, not only is he doing it behind the plate and really taking over his pitching staff and really dominating in that aspect quietly, right? Mm-hmm. Super quietly, that pitching staff has been doing great. And he's not only has been doing that, he's on pace to, on a potential, 3.8 F-WAR, which we spoke about that, onside pre-show. That right there is impressive on the defensive side of the ball because of the fact that it also helps out with everything that the catchers do behind the plate. So, and he's top 3 in recent history. So that's insane. Not to mention he leads the AL in home runs right now, and he's second in MLB with B-WAR. So the guy is quietly having a great year. Quietly had a great month, and it sucks that catchers don't get like the Ohtani highlights and all these flashy highlights and stuff like that. But us catchers, we okay with that. We're grit and we're grinders back there, so we don't need the spotlight all the time. But I will for sure get the spotlight when I can to my catchers. So Cal Raleigh, hats off to you. Good month. Keep up the good work. Keep on doing what you're doing with the pitching staff, and keep dominating out there in the West.
Now, granted, you do have a little bit of a leg up when you've got George Kirby and Brian Wu and Luis Castillo and Logan Gilbert.
Yeah.
But but those guys are not as good as they are without the right catcher back there.
Correct.
And I think you talked about F-WAR, B-WAR between the two. He's on pace to, in both measurements of WAR, to be top 3 in modern history. Like live ball era catcher seasons, if he keeps it up. We're talking about him having a season that sort of matches those Buster Posey years. Some of those Yadier Molina years where his bat was hot. But, he is, if you've been paying attention to baseball, you know what Cal Raleigh has been doing. And if you haven't, it's time to start, because he's a name you're going to need to know come All-Star time, come MVP voting time. Our fourth and final topic today is going to be picking out dark horse candidates for some of the major awards. So today we're going to be focusing on an MVP candidate and a Cy Young candidate that have the potential to maybe vault ahead of those guys who are the favorites. And mine is Pete Crow Armstrong, 23 years old, having one of the better breakout years in recent memory, 14 home runs, hitting .274 with elite speed. A guy who coming up was a serviceable bat with outstanding defense and outstanding base running ability. However, he has flashed that he is not just a serviceable bat. He is one of the best outfield bats in the National League, hitting for power with an OPS in the mid 800s, racking up a 3 WAR already this season. Look in the National League, even on his own team, you've got guys like Kyle Tucker. You've got the Shohei Ohtanis, obviously. I can see Pete Crow Armstrong, if the Cubs continue to overperform what I expected, and even what some of the most optimistic analysts were projecting, Pete Crow Armstrong has to be in that conversation. If you look at the award strictly, who's the most valuable player, because his breakout on top of what guys like Seiya Suzuki, on top of what Kyle Tucker is doing over there, his value cannot be underestimated. He has been the driving force at times in that Cubs lineup, all over the field, making highlight reel plays, hitting for power, which you didn't really expect for him coming into the league. Josh, I'll turn it over to you just for the sake of time. You've got our American League Cy Young dark horse candidate.
Yeah, real quick on PCA too. I love the way he plays ball. Just a full baseball player. He reminds me a lot of Jackson Merrill. So it's kind of similar to Corbin Carroll and all that stuff. So I love the way he plays ball, and I hope he continues that. But yes, Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown for me. When you talk about a Cy Young candidate, dark horse, he's on the right track. He's at the right field. You gotta understand too, when Cy Young comes into the play, you gotta talk about the field that they're playing at. It plays a big factor that a lot of people don't understand. And I like, I believe it's still called Minute Maid, and that's a very, very pitcher friendly stadium there. So he's loving that, obviously. But just like I mentioned before in the last segment, just his numbers, his ERA 2.04, the 71 strikeouts and 61.2 innings pitched, his whip being the 87. The one that I like the most, though, the thing that stands out to me about Hunter Brown is the fact that he leads MLB in fewest hits allowed, number one, and it's per 9 innings is what that stat goes off. But he also is tied for the MLB right now with 6 wins. That right there is what I was talking about with the crucial aspect of being a part of the field and having the team to back you up too. So like if you look at Paul Skeens, for instance, has an awesome performance, awesome outing, flawless, inning pitch, but doesn't get the victory. That, obviously
1-0.
1-0. So that hurts them. You know what I mean? So the fact that he has that ability to have somewhat of a backing behind him, he goes out there every day pretty confident on the mound. So Hunter Brown to me is one that we have to look out for. If he stays consistent with this, it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, obviously competing with Tarik Skubal out there in the American League, of course, very difficult. But that's why it's a dark horse, because anything can happen. Skubal could fall apart. That Tigers team, where a lot of those guys have been overperforming offensively, some of them beginning to come back down to earth. You never, ever know. A guy throwing 102 miles an hour in the 9th inning of games, Skubal, if you watch that complete game you threw the other day, he could have arm fatigue at some point in the year. And Hunter Brown has been outstandingly efficient throughout the year, minus 1 game against Tampa Bay. Congratulations on that one.
Yeah.
I can absolutely see him leapfrogging Fried and getting into that conversation with Tarik Skubal, who at some point is going to have some voter fatigue because he's looking like a guy who could rattle off 5 or 6 Cy Youngs over the next decade. But with that, let's say those last 14 seconds, head into the outro. Thank you, as always, for watching the show. We hope you enjoy it. Josh, thank you, as always, for being on. It's always a pleasure to get to sit down and talk some baseball, especially getting some Royals and Chris Bubich mentioned today. That was a big part of what I was excited for. Josh, anything else to add?
I had to throw my junior in there too, Junior Caminero. Shout out to you. I wasn't going to let you get away with just throwing out your team in there. I had to throw mine in there too. So another great show, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for watching. Everybody follow, like, subscribe, everything that we always talk about. Any other topics or discussions that you want to talk about, shoot it underneath and we'll get after it.
We'll see you next week.